So welcome, Ashley, to the show. So happy to connect with you again and again and again.
Thank you so much for having me. I love it. I could be with you 24/7 and talk to you all day long.
That's how I felt when I first heard your voice and I heard your Uncover Your Magic podcast. It was like divinely appointed at the time when I needed most. And I heard your voice and it was so kind and compassionate and full of love and caring. And what I really loved about it most is your devotion to the love of your family, the love of raising confident teenage girls, and your love for really helping inspire other people that may not even think that they have that support, on the outside, when in reality you awaken that they always have it within. So you're such an inspiration. From the moment I heard your voice, it felt like home. I told you that, right?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I mean, coming from you, that means so much to me. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it's the truth. So let's tell our audience a little bit of your journey of awakening, because now you have an amazing podcast that reaches thousands of people worldwide that inspire them. And really, because of you, you even connected me to many inspiring people and that live across the pond. But what was it? This was something that you didn't grow up saying, I'm going to be a broadcaster, I'm going to be a podcaster. And in the realm of spirituality, of truth and holistic, holistic nutrition, what was it that brought you here?
I think, well, my whole life, I did want to be a broadcaster when I was in college. So,
Oh,
but I
that's
didn't
so
know it was going to be
cool.
a podcast version. But, I've always been that kind of person that would I mean, they always say a seeker, but I'd always look for there's more to life. I always knew there was more. And I think growing up, I didn't have like a mom that, I mean, she was there with love, but I always was kind of the one that took care of my sisters and kind of led the family, and I had to kind of figure life out on my own. And, I think going along my journey, in my 20s, um, I was lost. I was going from one job to the next and figuring out where to go. Didn't know what I really was, like trying to find my passion. And I
Mm.
didn't even know that that was what I was trying to do. So, then I get to go into relationships and, not knowing really who I am, but still like knowing there's more. And then, I started in my 30s, I opened up a day spa, had an amazing experience with this. What opened probably that started opening my eyes more was this company I worked for before that, sent us to a seminar. Still out there, called PSI. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard
Okay.
of PSI.
Okay.
I think I saw that in the trade shows in the Jacob Javits. They had a booth or something. Could that
Oh,
be it? Is that like the same
it's
type of?
called People Synergistically Involved. It would be like a landmark.
Oh, absolutely not. Different one. I thought it was like that they sold like different products. Like,
Oh no,
yeah,
it was a
for
weekend
a
seminar.
skincare, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh no. No,
So
that
that
was
is
not my awakening. My
no.
awakening was, I would say it was this company who gave this gift um to its employees for the weekend. And I remember I just got this job. I had my dog at home and I didn't want to leave him for the weekend. And finally, we keep seeing everyone coming back from the weekends like they drank some Kool-Aid and they were so happy. And I thought, okay, I guess we'll go. So this friend and I go, and first night, what? This is how you can live? And it just really woke me up. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is like crazy how, you've been with blinders on thinking that you're searching, but I think that moment was when I realized that. So I went to all their advanced seminars, quit the job, opened a day spa with no money, bought 2 houses with no money, just went on a, um I just really trusted and I surrendered to
Oh,
life. And it made me realize how powerful we are and how I had limited myself all the way up until I was, I mean, probably 29, 30. And when I realized how powerful we are, I kind of played a game. I kind of would do things in life and just like see if it worked. And it always did. Like it proved me wrong. And it never is always, it always, there's no proving wrong. But it was like I trusted and surrendered in that process and how to created a successful business with nothing. And I think when you realize that when you have an intention and you know the truth and you can really just trust the process and just live life in this, I mean, gratitude, being happy, um, all that high vibration stuff we talk about is when I really realized, like, I mean, we are such magical beings. And once people realize that, there's just no end to what you can do, or um, it's just you're limitless. Like, and I feel that way so much. And I think when I realized that, and my life started taking off and showing me the magic, um, I haven't looked. I've always, and then it just keeps. It's like the snowball effect. I just keep the momentum just kept going until I'm 54. But that's when it really started, I guess, if that's what you wanted to know about my awakening moment.
yeah. And what was the program that, like, what was the basis of it when you said that, wow, this is what life can be like? What were they speaking about?
It was a lot of, I'd studied Abraham Hicks and Wayne
Mhm.
Dyer and, Dolores Cannon. I had done all those books, um, like all the books that we've read. And it was all that. It was a lot of law of attraction, it all just came together there. They put it in action, and it just woke me up. Like and then I would send all my employees to go for, every weekend when I had the spa. And then they'd come home and they're like, I'm quitting. I'm going to go open up my own business. And I'm like, oh, it's like backfire. No, but it's so funny. It happened so much, but I just wanted to, it was something that I could help others. And I just always was one to say, I want to gift this to you because it really opened up my life. And yeah, and I think that part, going back to like when I met Richard and all those things, but having children, it sparked a lot in me, realizing, you know, how important a childhood is to be an intentional and conscious parent, and
Yeah,
teaching and having that. I think that those tools in your childhood. And I just realized, like, when I have babies, they need to start young. I would love for them to, learn young. So when they turned 18, they weren't like me in my 20s, like the wanderer, trying to, that was really what really motivated me as a mom when I got to that point.
so when your mom was working and you were taking care of, how many
No, she didn't work. She actually was, a flight attendant, but not until,
Hmm,
um, I was probably in high school, I think.
okay,
Um, yes, but she was a at-home mom, but yeah, it wasn't um, it, I mean, I'm trying to explain how, like, they were married and divorced twice, both my mom and dad. So I experienced that. And it just wasn't um, it was a fun life, fun, fun childhood, but we didn't have much. But I didn't know any better, you know,
right.
but I just was and I still am that with everybody, with my sisters and her. I've always been the one like, probably you too, the one that was what's Ashley doing now? You know?
Yeah. It's the innovator, but you also keep everyone together too with your nurturing, heart. And you're the dream weaver. When I first met you, I'm like, you are the ultimate dream weaver. You,
Oh,
you connect people. It's unbelievable. And I was reading your bio before on your site, and there was one thing that really stuck out, and it said, I'm on the mission to empower millions of kids. And your passion and your love for, especially the way you're raising your girls. How old are they now?
Presley's 14 and Paige is 17.
Yeah. The way that you're raising your children, like, as a conscious parent, and parenting isn't easy. We all say that I'm going to be a conscious parent. I'm going to be an incredible parent. And, they're their own people. They're their own souls. They have their own missions and likes and dislikes. And, we just give them the tools and the foundation. But you have a gift of really connecting to a lot of people's inner child. Your
Mhm.
voice, you hold this, I call it like an energetic key. And there are certain words that you say. There's certain things that always relate, that I always hear, that relays in your podcast and even our conversation, that the intention is love and the agenda is nothing.
Right.
It's just pure. But you wrote in your bio, I'm on a mission to empower millions of kids to learn the tools to help them live a life of confidence so they can be anything that they want to be, that they can, or have anything that they desire. So how, when you said that you went and you bought a business with nothing, you bought a house with nothing, I mean, that takes a lot of courage. How do you work with the children that may have never even known that that's like a possibility of attainment? How do you,
Right.
like, what is the first thing of like you working with these children?
Uh, well, when I think of raising of raising two girls, my main thing was especially raising girls, right? I don't know what it's like to raise a boy, but raising girls with my mind and my background was they need to know that they're worthy and to know that they are they have every bit of power within them and they're always provided for and they're never alone and it was when you see these little girls being raised, I'm around other parents raising, at the play dates and watching how they raise and you're not at that stage of being a parent, you're kind of in the middle of stuff. Like we were talking the other day, like you're, trying to make sure one's happy and then you're over here with the other one. And, you're in a different minds, your mind's different when you're in the young age. But at the same time, I'm still, teaching them how to give compliments, teaching them, the gratitude, teaching them, we would read the four agreements, saying our prayers, doing our affirmations. They would have to, put the sticky notes up on the mirror in the morning. And, all these little things that you are doing and you don't know until really at my present moment, when they're in high school, that it really all came together. And it did. It's like I was programming these little computers and now I see the fruit of my labor, and I see they know their values. I don't have to, worry Richard even said, yeah, a couple days ago, he's like, wow, Paige is a tough cookie. I said, we did something right. Like, she's super strong in her values and she stands strong. And, it's just so neat to watch all the little things along the way that you do as in an intentional way. Cause I was like, I
Mhm.
hope one day this pays off, but you really do see it now. And I look at kids these days and what the social media and all the distractions that play in their life that we never had. And, and I feel like a lot of parents still live with blinders on. And they don't have that awareness of the importance of those little tiny, I mean, just having a gratitude practice, or, understanding the importance of, um, you know, believing like you are anything, you can do anything, and giving their kids that, letting them go down those paths to find their passion. And I mean, I just me saying that, I can tell like all the things that I didn't have. Like I look at life from that higher perspective. And it's so important for me now to instill that, because I didn't have that, so it's all the things that my soul, your soul, everyone's soul didn't, that's where the passion comes from. When you don't, I didn't have the mom that could sit and talk to me at night about boys, and I do that. I'll sit till it's midnight and wanting, I don't care how late it is. I will talk to Paige
Yeah.
till forever. I do everything that I know, um, that I lacked, I guess, that I know is so important and that I would want as a child, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think also like our mothers and our grandmothers, of course, it was a different generation at that time, different mindset. And your journey, your journey here is completely unique. And of course, they were doing the best they could with the resources that they had at that time. But imagine that she did give you absolutely everything. You wouldn't know that contrast, and it wouldn't be so intentional at this time. It would just be matter of fact,
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like you don't, you know how they say you don't know what you got until it's gone, but we don't really necessarily own anything, but you really, you know, the fact that you did experience the contrast of expansiveness of what your worth and your value is, and you're paying it forward to your kids. It's it's the greatest gift that is absolutely priceless.
Mhm.
You and I, when we speak about parenting, and I love, like, we have a very similar viewpoint on it. And you know, I admire you that you follow through much more, much.
I'm sure.
You could follow through. You're stronger than I am in that. Like,
No.
but maybe it's my son with my daughter. Like, my son breaks me. He does. He does. Maybe it's a different with boys and girls. I have no idea. Maybe who knows? But it's also each kid is individual. But I love the following through is so important, because the following through builds trust.
Right.
And otherwise, I grew up in a home where my father would follow through. No means no, yes means yes. My
Right.
mother was so fickle. Like, maybe, yes, well, go ask your father. Yes, well, no. And I think when the fickleness, it makes a child, it plants a seed of doubt,
Mhm.
that of doubt. And that, I think, for me, my own journey was it it played with my own self-esteem, because I'm like, well, if a boy tells me no, does it really mean yes? Does yes mean no? Does no mean?
Right.
So the fact that you follow through of being this conscientious parent and even a conscientious friend, I think you're a really, really great friend. I feel like I've known you lifetimes beyond
Oh my
lifetime.
gosh. Totally.
And you are, you just follow through with your words, not because you have to, but because that's the core of who you are. So there's automatic trust that happens there. And it's I'm very grateful for you,
No. Feeling
and
is mutual, my friend. I
yeah.
mean, it goes right back. What you see in me, I see in you.
Well, thank you. So tell me a little bit about um this love that you have of your girls are so, I don't want to say well-rounded, because well-rounded sounds like almost like this, like, I don't know, this hierarchy of elitists, but it isn't like that. They're well-rounded and grounded girls. They know who they are. How, with their experience in the pageant world, in of like, especially in this day and age with like TikTok and social media and people look at like outer beauty, how did you instill that inside, that inner beauty in them from when they were young, like competing in pageants and things like that? Because from the outside looking in, somebody who wasn't in the pageant world, because my kids were more athletic, they were athletes. Um, how did you disarm the superficial aspect of it, and really go into the depth of confidence? Like, how did you do that with your girls? And now you're doing it with the other girls in the pageants.
Yeah, the pageants world, I've never done pageants, never really watched them. Wasn't
Really?
into them. Yeah,
You're
never.
gorgeous. You're absolutely gorgeous inside
And
and out.
but Paige, 8 years old, we got a postcard and she wanted to do this. She saw the crown and the dress and she wanted to do that. And I said, okay, we'll go down to the hotel and check it out. And I have always like, they tried dancing, they tried soccer, they, played softball. They, now they're on the crew team, but throughout their life, when I look down, it was just, let's go see, like I was a dancer. I did all the sports, and I'm thinking, well, they got to dance, they've got to play soccer, but it was like Presley I'd hide behind the tree because she'd cry if she was playing soccer. I'm like, why am I doing this? So early on, it was like, let's just let them lead the way, and I would always say to Richard, like, Paige is going to try this pageant and she's 8 years old and it seems legit. Yeah, I don't know, and I thought she was going to like bow out and leave because it looked like there was a lot of on stage speaking. And she always used to hide behind my leg and I'd have to go to therapy and figure out how to get separation from her. And she'd cry when I, leave her. But she really wanted to do this. And I just said to Richard, like, let's try. Let's just go with it. So I, buy the dresses from eBay and put rollers in her hair, try to write her introduction. But, there was no makeup in this pageant that we started with. And that's the one we've really stood with. No makeup until they're really Presley's age now is 14. So
Wow.
all this whole year, all these years, um, it's not been a beauty thing. It's always been a speaking interview. And Richard started to see Paige's confidence start changing. And he's like, I think we're onto something with this. I think, and then Presley watches her sister and like, Mom, I want to do that too. And those memories of those pageant are probably one of the most, it could make me cry is what it does for me. Like it's been the most amazing journey of watching their growth. And it's never about winning. It's always about, and that's such a great platform to learn that because there's one winner in your age group. It's all girls looking at each other. You could be the one comparing yourself, but I've always said, like, you're just going there to be you, you know?
Mhm.
And I just have always instilled in them that like, it's not about anybody else but you. Like we're going to do this to get better. And it's been everything about it has been my growth and their growth. And, um, it's not something that I look at that has brought in any kind of, um, I mean, it's all positive. There's nothing, I can't say anything negative, but it's just been a beautiful experience and they love it. We wouldn't do it if they didn't love it. And they've won a few, which is fun.
Great.
Paige used to get first runner up and she'd always go, Mom, how do I not be first runner up? But it's been a really fun. It's grown them to these women that aren't out there comparing themselves. They've
Mhm.
made beautiful friendships. It's not what other people think. It's like, there's some of that, but for the most part, I always explain when you come from love and you're exuding a vibration of what can I, be to you, or, that's how they are. And what a great platform to really, that's like really going to test you, like how are you being, are you comparing? Are you, get down on yourself because someone else did this and you didn't, or the gowns that they wear, all it, and it, they just, I mean, I haven't been one of those moms that spend thousands and thousands of dollars on things. We figure out how to buy
Mhm.
them, so they know we're not those that kind of family. But it's just been a really fun journey of confidence building for sure, and something that I see Paige now heading into college with those tools that she's had since she was 8, ready to go do anything, ready to start her life with, and those tools are one of the things that I think is what fuels her confidence in the biggest way for sure. Both of them.
Yeah, they have a great barometer of what that feels like, of love and confidence and support and all of that. But are there any girls, because listen, you and I, we both know, growing up, teenage years, early 20s, and we got to call a spade a spade. There's envy out there. There's
Right.
jealousy out there. Like even for me, and you're a beautiful woman. And for me, when I'm very uncomfortable at times to be on social media, to be there speaking, it's like I feel the energy in the room sometimes. And it's not necessarily of the envy or jealousy of others of me, but it's almost like of what and the word is, and you said it before, compare, like the comparison of I should be here, how is this person here, how is that. I never, speaking from the I never
Mhm.
felt jealousy ever in my life. Like
Right.
that's something that I just I get inspired by other people's success, and the jealousy is not why they have it and I don't.
Mhm.
It's almost like whatever I choose that is on my path, I'll get, because it's nothing is ownership. But how do you teach, like, especially when there's beauty inside and outside, there's talents, and there girls can be, and I'm sorry, I may get a lot of hate email or something like that. Girls can be really catty and bitchy
Oh,
and
for sure.
nasty. Like, Jules played for flag football, and they were like me, they were mean. And Jules doesn't have a mean bone. Jules is my daughter, for she doesn't have a mean bone in her body. She's so true and thoughtful. But some of them, there's this energy of competition, that it's this like gossip and nastiness. And how do you deal with the ugly aspect of it, the jealousy, that like, what do you how do
Oh,
you
there's so much of that,
I
Janet.
know.
Those poor little things at school, and that as soon as these girls hear that they're pageant girls, they
Yep.
hate them, right? So,
Automatically.
mhm. And, we go through that a lot. We've gone through that a lot. Pretty much their whole childhood. And it's not at the pageant, it's at school. So the girls at the pageant, those friends are, it's like when we get there, it's like, oh, finally. Like we're around people that love me and aren't judging me. And, but when we're at school, but like you say, like about looking at, I don't compare either. And
I know.
am, and if anything, I want, like, I'll give dresses to friends. You just borrow it. I'm not going to make you pay. I'm not there. I want everyone to win. I instill that in them. And I know that that's why Jules is that way because of you. Like I don't, they see how I am. They do what you do, not what you say. Right. And I've never, they see me in action at, when they get out. Well, for just examples, they would get in the car, when I would pick them up at school, and it would be, "Oh, mom," they wouldn't sit with me, because I'm a pageant girl, or, there's something that they don't like. This whole group doesn't like Presley in her class, that they say that. And then Paige will be at school and trying to hide it, not talking about it because
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't want anyone to know. And I said, "Yeah, just keep it quiet. Don't give him any more fuel." And they really don't have a big friend group. And it's because and I always explain that it's the values. Your values are so high, and you know exactly who it is attracted to that is because of your love and your authenticity. And
Mm-hmm.
they'll see you. They won't see you as this, whatever, the pageant girl or the pretty girl or the girl that whatever. but I'm not, I want everyone to win, and I really do. And I just feel like if I can instill that in them, um, then how much easier in life, how much more relaxed is life when you just say, you know what? I know one day it'll be my time. I wonder when it will, but let's just have fun and love everyone. Like, but hurt people, and I have had to go through all that with them. I used to be the mama bear that used to go talk to the principal, and and then I just realized, you know what? This is their journey. They're attracting that for something. Let's learn why that's going on. Like maybe let's, shift our focus on another, it doesn't, you don't have to have it's a quality, not quantity of people in your life. And I really they see me. I mean, I don't have it. I mean, I have friends that I talk to maybe on a handful. I mean, now that I'm
Mhm.
out on this podcast for the last few years, a few like-minded like you have reached out and it's enriched me, and then it's like, oh, the girls are like, Mom, I always say, look at me. I could probably count my friends on one hand that I
Yeah,
really
too.
love, that I would talk to every day so it's not like that. And I just, yeah, I don't, it's interesting watching the evolution of my growth too, and the protection and trying to, as a mom, of trying to let them, um, figure it out on their own.
That's tough. Yeah,
It's
that's
really
tough.
tough. Yeah, I mean, I
Tough,
would, yeah.
especially when you see, like, I think I mentioned to you one time that both you and I, we teach mindfulness to the youth. I teach it for adults as well, and I was teaching a mindfulness program, Stanford University program in the Board of Education here at a local school where my children went to. And ironically, like it was a children's program about anti-bullying, about confidence, about mindfulness, of how to be in the moment. And ironically, it happened to be that when I was teaching the program, the kids that were being bullied were my own children in the school,
Hmm.
my kids. And the compassion that my children felt for the bully, well, Mom, they don't have this. And I said, well, just because they don't have that support system doesn't, there's no, it's not okay to be mean.
Right.
It's not okay to be mean. And I think um, whatever is the trigger or the catalyst for bullying, it's definitely in an unhappy or an insecure person where they feel powerless,
Mhm.
powerless. But it was really hard as a parent, as a mom, where here I am empowering other children. And then my kids were like, you're just telling me this because you're my mom.
Right.
You're telling me this because you're my mom. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm telling you this because I see this in you.
Right.
And so you play both roles. You're the mom, you, and I don't want to say preach mindfulness, you live mindfulness. So when you're teaching this and having these conversations with your children, um, do they ever push back on you because of their own emotions?
No.
Okay, that's
They
awesome.
don't, Janet. They
Yeah,
don't.
you see, they know
Yeah.
it. They know the
They do
truth.
know. And I think they know how, important they've just, I think of,
It's great.
the gratitude journal as an example. We always used to do it in the car. And this year I'm not driving. And I said, okay, this year it's going to have to be next to your breakfast and you're going to have to do the gratitude journal. And there's more to the journal than just gratitude, but it's my morning routine that I teach in my class that I taught. I mean, I teach it because we've done it their whole life. Right. And, it sits there and one day, it's just like, they will never not do it because they know how important that is. It would be like not brushing their teeth, and they know, and I read them when I get home, and read what they write, and it's like, what's your intention for the day? Pages like to be the light, to
Oh,
yeah, it's like, oh, it makes you just think, wow, really? But it's like, it's not like you're reading their diary, but when you see like, wow, really? Like that's, or what was your, magic moment at the end of the day? And, they're at the crew practice. So it's like, oh, I got my fastest time, or, I got to run with Paige and talk on our run yesterday, and we didn't stop. And it's like you get to have that inner time readings, but when they know Paige is so uh not a I don't want to say pleaser, but she just doesn't want to disappoint me in a loving way, not in a, I'm scared. I don't want mom to be upset with me. She's
Right.
very mindful and knows the importance. And they both have created a platform because with pageants, you have to do so many things in the community service. And they created a platform called the Positivity Project. So it's Paige's Positivity Project and Presley's Positivity Project.
EP, that's great.
So they talk about, like, they'll go to the Boys and Girls Club and do what, the vision boards and the gratitude teach these kids.
Mhm.
We have them at our house too, but and they have a little podcast on YouTube where they talk about their 3 minutes of positivity. But it's all this pageant. I mean, that they people were like, by the time your girls were 12, they had had so much community service. I said, I wouldn't have known that, but the pageant makes you, really, dive deep into that. That's a huge part of it. But yeah, they have their, it's just a muscle now, Janet. Like
Right.
it's such a muscle. And with our text messages, I mean, it's a constant message from school. It's like we miss each other. I mean, it's just like you and your kids. It's just
Oh
we've
my God.
created and I understand the next phase of life is different, and it is a more of a friendship, and it's a more of a different relationship. And I'm understanding that, and I'm getting used to that. And I'm watching you with Jules and trying
Yeah.
to learn from you and how you handle it, because that helps me so much to know what I have in store.
Yeah. My husband helps me with that too, because for me, if she was still home under this roof, I love hanging out with my kids.
Right.
There are many parents that they say, "Oh, I can't wait until summer break is over and the kids go back to school." Thank God.
Oh,
I didn't want summer break to.
I've never said that.
I
Yeah.
just, yeah, and I'm definitely not mother of the year. Like
Right.
it,
No.
it's really, but I really enjoy the beingness of these two precious souls that were just given to me temporarily as a gift, and their unique personalities, and when they're able to shine through, I really enjoy it. But um letting go, when she went away to college, like she's a sophomore now, that was a really difficult year for us at home, especially. There was so many different changes happening in the house as well, and it was a growth year. Like every family goes through their own
Right.
growth. But this year that she's a sophomore and she's more comfortable in her environment of where she's at, and she's commuting back and forth. I mean, my child was never on a subway. She was never on a train before. Like
Oh my
that's
gosh.
until she went away to college. It was
Wow.
even like riding buses. She really wasn't on the bus. And we live in New York, but we live in Staten Island. So she's not, but we do have buses, but I used to drive my children around. I would
Right.
have my work schedule set, but the times that were a non-negotiable was time for pickup, dropping them off, and any of after school activities, non-negotiable. I was there. But it's definitely a transition where you go from parenthood to that friendship kind of
Mhm.
energy. And even now with my 16-year-old, where he's like, I'm not a baby anymore. Like I'm 16 years old. Mom, you don't need to make me like all the meals. And I'm running outside. I'm like, take your vitamins. And he's like, you have to stop. You know, and and
Cute.
and I know this, but forever in my mind, they'll always be my babies until the age of I'm 100 years old.
Right.
They'll always be our babies. But you know what, the love that I have for my children is the love I have for teaching other parents and their kids to find their own gifts inside. And you have that as well. So I want, you to share about the 8-week program that you work with these young teens and children, And it's also it's a beautiful formula that you have constructed that I think is brilliant. So would love for my listeners and all the people that are going to be, watching this podcast as well, to especially if they have kids, um, to know about your amazing, brilliant program.
Yeah, I want to explain how it came about. So in 2020, in March, I signed up for this podcast. Something came into my head and said, "I think you should start a podcast, Ashley." And I answered it because I always am telling my girls that when something comes into your mind, always say yes. It might not be the right thing, but you'll learn something and move on to the next. So, I didn't have, like you just said, my priority was them. And drove them to school, would have a couple hours at home and then go back to pick them up and be busy all night driving them around. So I thought, why am I doing this podcast and how am I going to have this time? So 2 weeks after that, the quarantine happened. And
Mhm.
I remember picking them up and I can see them walking across the field with their books in their hands saying, "Mom, they said we're in quarantine for 2 weeks." I'm like, oh, little did they know, right? That we all know.
Right.
Just the 2 weeks. So I said, oh, I'll have 2 weeks. I can use their laptop and get the computer ready for my new podcast. I have all this time now. Perfect. No wonder I said yes. So in the beginning of the podcast, you kind of this, I had to do some solos so people knew who I was. So I started, podcast 1 was my life story, podcast 2 and 3 were what was important to me was parenting. And so I would explain how important parenting, and I just out of like I just thought that was what came to me, was what that's what I'm going to share. So, you look at 3 episodes in and I start getting emails and calls from people saying, "Can you please help my kid?" We're in like the
Oh,
deep, we've been out of school for I think 2 months by then. And they're really struggling. "I need you to help my kid." And I'm like, huh, okay. And I had friends too. I had probably 10 kids that would come to the house and I'd sit on the dining room table and I didn't know. I just said, "I'm going to teach you a morning routine." What I taught the girls, I teach you gratitude. I would buy them the 4 Agreements book. Like when you're done with school, read a chapter and we'll talk about it next week. And um, I did just whatever I thought was important. And then I'd have people in Florida and Chicago, moms, "Can you please help my kid?" And I'm just like, this is so crazy. So I started, then the woman that taught Michelle, that we both know, who taught the podcast class, taught a new class on how to create a class online. And I was lonely. I mean, not lonely, but we were sitting at home doing nothing. I wasn't going anywhere because we're just, and I thought that was fun having that
uh-huh.
podcast class. I'm going to do another class. And at least it's fun to be on Zoom with all these new friends, that you just sit because you're
Totally.
just sitting around, when is this quarantine looking at the news? Like, what are we doing? Like,
Right.
what is this? What's going on? So anyway, I took that class and at the beginning, I didn't know really why I was doing it. Really, it was just to have friends. And I said, "I don't know what kind of class I would have." And she's like, "Well, what do people say you're good at?" And I said, "I guess parenting." All of a sudden, I have all these kids in my
Mhm.
dining room.
Yep.
And she's like, "Let's create that." So I just did this 8-week class and I did all the modules were things that, morning routine, then gratitude, dreams, and they would make a vision board, teach them how to visualize and manifest. And that's always fun. And then we did the gratitude and we do so many lessons in that, which is amazing. Core values, limiting beliefs, and I put it together and I did it for the kids. No, I did it for the parents. So I created it because I thought they needed to learn it. They didn't know who I was. And I mean, the ones that didn't know me.
Yep.
Um, and so I thought, if you're a parent, you're not going to let this lady teach your kids. Who knows what she's going to teach them, right? So I remember the day I was getting ready to have my first master class, and I had a few people texting me, "Oh, I can't wait for tonight. I'm going to sign so and so up." And I said, "Oh, it's not for kids; it's for parents." And I went, "Oh my gosh, I need to go home and make 2 options, right?" So everyone on that call signed up their kid, not one parent. And it was I said, huh, they just needed somebody else to help. And I think it is so
Yes,
true. Like we know that our kids will listen to someone besides our own, besides us. So
exactly.
it evolved and it's been, almost 4 years into this. And teaching these kids and, seeing these sweet souls who really know everything start to remember who they truly are and the light bulbs go off and their eyes. I just pull those little lights out of their eyes and see those souls and then they get excited and they don't want it to end. And the moms and the dads are like, wow, the morning routine, our whole energy is different in our house. And I don't know what you're teaching them. And, it's just been amazing. We used to go to our four corners of our house and now we're all in the same room. And,
Oh,
I've
wow.
taught all families. I've taught mom, dad, two kids. For what that was really interesting to put them all on the same page. I really, and I've taught moms that have little kids, like they all got on Zoom so she could kind of let them understand, in a little kid way, but she would take it so she could continue teaching them as they grow old. But yeah, it's funny how that came up and how much I see that's like my full passion. Now it's like through the pageants, getting those girls, they see
Oh,
my girls with their, what we do with our mindset. And, you these moms pay for coaching for how to walk, how to interview. I'm like, the mindset is so important in a pageant. So
that's
now
the
they're seeing
foundation.
that. Yeah. Oh, it's everything.
Mindset is everything.
Right.
You could pay billions of dollars for other coaching, but then it needs to have a compartment for it to like fertile ground, and that's mindset,
Right.
and that's you. You
Right.
are foundation with love. I mean, um, what an asset you are to all those kids. How young are the children? Like, what are the age groups that you work with?
Well, they've been 6 has probably been
Wow.
kindergartner has been the
Yeah,
youngest.
that's so cute.
And I work with people that are, a lot of, some pageant girls in their late 30s that I've worked with, moms, a lot of college kids too. I mean, my thing is I think it's important at like 11 or 12. I really think kids
Mm,
should get that going, and if parents haven't been doing the things up until then, um, I feel like before you go into high school or middle school, I mean, I would say middle school, if they can get a little bit of ahead of seeing who they truly are and their tools that they have, I think the bullying and the pressure and all the Instagram stuff and the TikTok, there's so many layers to their pressure these days that these parents don't realize we don't realize the effects that this is going to have in 10 years from now. We don't know it's all so new. I mean, I tell Paige, like, I don't have a picture of you on my iPhone like I do Presley when she was a baby, because in 2006, I didn't
right.
have a phone. We didn't have
That's
that ability. I took it from a camera. But if you realize how fast our technology has been from there until her lifelong time has been crazy where our technology has come. And we just don't know that where the addiction's going to come from and the parents that allow the iPads now and little kids to be the babysitters. And and we're going to see these grown kids that had this generation of all this technology boom happening. And we just don't know. But I think when you can get ahead of it and get on like those kids, those young 8, 10-year olds, and start to cultivate that routine in their head and get the morning routine, understanding how important vibration is and going to school with that high vibration, being the thermostat,
mhm.
not the thermometer, always saying like, you got to go here, you got to start here. It takes a lot longer to get from here to here when you start your day at school. And, the compliments, I can't say how more important that is. I mean, it's 5 compliments a day. Even now with the girls, they know that they have to give 5 compliments a day. It's been that since I'll never forget pulling them out of the car seat. And I pull them out of the car seat like that reel I sent you yesterday.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, yeah, yeah, but that was great, like, mind your own business or something.
yeah, I'm getting this.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
gonna
that was
unhook this.
great. That was a
Um, but I
feeling.
pull him out of their car seat and I say, okay, go give 5 compliments to 5 people today. And they get back in the car and I said, how'd it go? And they'll say, no one gave it back. No one gave me a compliment
Mhm.
back. And I said, that's not why you're doing it. You're
Right.
learning to give. And that's what raises your vibration even more. Even like you're teaching them, it's like teaching kids how to give, how to be like aware, having the blinders off and looking up. Let's not look down at our phones. Let's look up and see the beauties. Find the magic moment every day. Like that's why they have to write that at the end, like what their magic moment was, because every moment could be magic. It's your perspective,
Yeah.
like showing your perspective of how the day goes and always working out for me. That's one of the things that, as a parent with my girls, it's like, okay, you didn't win a pageant or you didn't get an A on a test or that friend did that to you, but gosh, can you believe it's really working for you? Like we're going to find out why, because this is cool. Like we're going to figure out how all these things that you like, they don't look at things as bad. There's nothing bad or wrong. It's just your perspective. And if you could teach a child that and 10 years old, like, all the, can you imagine like the victimhood, all those, that poor me, that would go out the door because they would be so in control of their life at that early of an age and see their life in a different, with the glass half full or, like, looking at it from that higher perspective of, you know what? Even though that happened, I know it's for me. And
Exactly.
that is so freeing. There's no the victim thing. No, can't do the victim.
No, they would feel sovereign. They'd feel free. They'd feel accepted. And if they would teach every single school system in this world, if they would teach EQ, emotional, like, about manners, about mindfulness, kindness in every single school in the world globally, what a beautiful place this world would be, because
Oh,
we truly are here only temporarily, but we came here to create that heaven on earth. And these kids are, you're 100% right, what's going to be in 10 years of what the effects that it had on their brains,
mm,
all of these highs and lows hormonally, of if they get X amount of likes, then suddenly they feel accepted. If they don't have X amount of views, then they feel like, someone what disapproves. Like, nobody, you cannot, nobody else has your power except for you. And it's
right, right.
wonderful that you're teaching them this. You're an incredible parent. And I know that we learn as we go also, and you could not be the parent that you are if it wasn't for your real life experience. It's not like you wake up and it's like, this enlightened master, and I came here as the parent of all parents.
Right.
No,
Oh gosh.
right. It's like, this, it really is, to be a great parent and have the gift of having children, like physical children, is an incredible priceless gift, like I mentioned before. But it really starts of being a mindful parent to yourself, and giving to others, as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful way of, not even living. It's your beingness. It's your beingness, and it's incredible. What would the adult parent, the parent now, the more mindful parent, that is the Ashley, that is, um X amount of human years old, where, what advice would she have given to the teenager that, maybe didn't feel that was consciously or conscientiously parenting, or parented at that time? What advice would you give to that your teenage self?
To myself as a teenager.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh gosh. You know, always know that everything is always working for you because I didn't realize that back in my teenage years. Um, know that you can just trust and surrender to life and know that you're always being guided and protected and really just enjoy the moment, be in the moment.
Mm, it's beautiful. And I enjoyed this moment. I enjoyed our moment. I enjoy every single morsel of our moments that
Me
we have.
too.
I really do. I adore you. I love you, with my heart and soul. Just
Oh, I
thankful.
love you and adore you. And, I look at thinking like how it's probably been what, 2, 3 months since we've connected. And it seems like I don't know what my life was like before you were in it. I thought, gosh, I look forward to talking. You know, I I think of like I wake up and I get thinking, oh, she's been awake for 3 hours. And I always in my mind, I'm picturing you and like, what is she doing? It's just so fun. Isn't that funny when you meet someone like that and it's just like you've been together forever.
Forever, forever and ever. And, yeah, it's a gift. I have to hold myself back from connecting with you in the morning, not to wake you up 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 a.m. Because I'm up at 4:45, 5 a.m. That's like, 3 we're 3 hours behind. You're in
Right.
California, I'm in New York, but, that's one thing that I'm really grateful for is this modern technology, how things are moving fast um because of that, our souls connected at this moment, which I knew was destined regardless, but I'm grateful for that part for sure. And for the rest of the world, talking about connectivity, what is the best way for them to connect and for them to reach out to you for if they would like to better help their teenager, their young child, the one that is transitioning from middle school to high school, from elementary, all of those transitional phases are so important and they're scary when you're a kid. But even everything else, what is the best way for them to connect with you and learn more about what it is that you offer?
I have my website. It's just all my name, Ashley Gonor, Gonor, ashleygonor.com. And then Uncover Your Magic is my podcast. All my Instagram and Facebook is all my name. So in um, uh, any way they could find me. But yeah, I feel like, when we're out in this world and don't know the tools or ever were guided to the tools as a parent. And I've talked to so many parents out there that just have never had that. They've never really been that's not ever been in their circle of their learning. They've either been working and, focused on that or just never had that interest. And when they realize the importance of that in their children these days, it's so amazing when you're like, oh, I can, this parent gets it. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, if you only like the gift you're going to give these kids and to know as a parent like you, when they leave your house and they fly out of the nest, you want that confidence that you did everything, you gave them everything, and that you have no regrets, and you just know and trust that they will follow their path with every value that you instill that they learned from their childhood and as much as we were capable of doing. But that's like I just always knew that I want to know when she's 18 and she leaves that I feel like my work is complete. Not complete, but I did it all, so I feel good about it, right?
You did an incredible job. The foundation is secure, so no rainstorm, hurricane, tornado, nothing can knock it down. It's like a bamboo tree. The bamboo goes back and forth.
Right?
Yeah, great roots. Thank you. I love
Thank you,
you,
Janet. Oh, I love
and
you so much.
I look forward to speaking to you very
In a
soon,
little bit.
like in just in minutes, like tomorrow. And until next time, everyone, namaste. Love.
Oh, thank you.
Bye, my angel. Thank you.
Thank you so much.